So we've got just a few minutes left, and I haven't answered any questions for a while, so I figured I would do that. If you guys have any questions, happy to answer them, otherwise we can just sit.
I was wondering if you could give a little more instruction on concentration meditation. I know you were going to give a 15-week workshop, so I'm not sure if it's something you want to try and do in 5 minutes. But I would like to know a little more about that specific.
Concentration.
Yes.
Okay. Concentration is a very nice... if you're going to practice anything at the beginning of your practice, in say the first 10 years, concentration is probably it. Without concentration, what we find is the insights that we get, like let's say I get a very nice strong insight into unity or into clarity, or the world shifts very radically and I'm able to see it from a different perspective. Without concentration, what happens is those insights are very flighty. I'm not able to hold on to them. The world changes, it becomes very sublime, and then that it crystallizes and it turns into a concrete experience. It turns into a memory. And then what happens is we start living from remembered wisdom. Okay? And what we want to do is live from actual wisdom right here, right now. Okay, I don't want to get some idea of what a wise person is and then try to ape that or try to mimic that, right? So what I want to do is when I have an insight, I want to be able to maintain it. And those are two very different skills. Being able to do it is one thing, being able to maintain it is it's a whole different animal. And concentration practice, in a nutshell, is I would say it's probably the most valuable thing that you can develop in terms of creating lasting change in your life. How we do that is we follow several very concrete steps. Okay? What we do is I'm sitting on a little pillow here. I close my eyes and I focus on my breath. And I focus on my breath as it's manifesting in my body. Right? So in other words, what that means is I close my eyes and I find where my nose is, okay? And I can feel certain sensations there. And these sensations are undeniable. Okay, there are a lot of things that I can deny. When I close my eyes, I can deny, I don't know, I can't say that I have a name for sure. Somebody made that up. There are a lot of things. Somebody made the name of this city up, right? I have a thought that's not ultimate truth. That's just an opinion. Okay? So what I have here, when I feel the sensations in my body, I'm connecting with something that's there and with something that is outside of, beyond, or prior to any opinion that I have of it. And my job here with concentration meditation is to see if I can keep that sensation, or keep those sensations at the top of my awareness. Okay? So I close my eyes and I feel the sensation at say at the tip of my nose. That's a nice one. You can do the throat, you can do the sternum, the navel. Okay? So pick a spot, and what you'll find is as you breathe in, you can hold your attention there. And then as you exhale, hold your attention there. And what you'll notice in a very concrete way is that certain things will come up to pull you off of this. Okay? Certain things will come up. Hey, look at this. Look, it's, right, Liam Neeson. Right? Look, it's a baby wolf. Oh, what about this? I'm hungry. Okay? All kinds of things will come up to pull you off of out of this simplicity. All kinds of complication. You've been manufacturing this for your whole life. Okay, you have little Kellogg's jingles in your head, little, right, I'm a little whatever, right? Okay, all this stuff will pull you off of this. Now, there's nothing wrong with going on a little journey. Okay, but the problem here is we get lost in the forest. The problem here is we forget that we have a home. Okay, there's nothing wrong with going on a camping trip, but what happens is when we get lost in this stuff, it's like I get lost and I live as a vagabond in the forest for like 30 years. And I forget who my true parents are. I forget my birthright. I forget that I have obligations, right, at home. I forget all this stuff, and there are costs to that. There are costs. So what happens is we find that we sink into these little thought worlds, and again, there's not a problem with the thought worlds. The thought worlds are just partial truth. They're not whole truth. There is a truth in them, right? There's a truth in working, there's a truth in thinking and so forth, but they're partial truths. Okay? So we want to recognize them as partial truths, drop them, set them aside, okay? And return to our base here. Return to what I know for sure, what's immediately verifiable. And so I can follow my breath all the way through the inhale, all the way through the exhale. And what I'm doing here, I'm developing one-pointedness, or I'm developing an ability to keep my attention in one place, regardless of the conditional circumstances. In other words, regardless of the partially undigested karma that's coming in from the past. Okay? I'm able to stay, for example, in my heart, regardless of its reactions to the present moment. Okay? Regardless of its reactions in the social environment. Because let's face it, right, it reacts to the social environment, and we skitter away from it. Oh, I can't do this, I'll just go hide. My job here is to maintain and confront and embrace my life regardless of the conditions. This is, you could say, we're developing an unconditional practice here. And when I do that, over time, I'm able to live outside of the topography of my mind. Or, not my mind, my personality. Okay, because my personality or my ego, it feels sometimes like it's this giant bruise. It's this giant kind of thing that is wanting and needing and seeking consistently, constantly, right? And so with my concentration, what I'm able to do is live outside of that. And again, there's nothing wrong with seeking, and there's nothing wrong with wanting or desire, right? We're all here because somebody had a desire for somebody else at some point, right? Unless one of us is a test tube baby, right? Or right, artificially inseminated. Even if that's the case, there was some desire to get a test tube and all that stuff. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not the whole of our life. Okay? And it's nice to have a break from these tidal waves of desire, from these tidal waves of seeking. So in a way, concentration practice can help you to establish your mind in the present moment. And then it can help you to see through all of these waves of emotion, all of this, all the karma of the past, all the ways that you've been using your mind over the past 10, 15 years, which is, unless you've done a lot of meditation practice, pretty much you're carrying on the unconscious habits of your social environment and the family, the home in which you grew up. You're kind of carrying those on. So we're bringing awareness and consciousness to that, so I can have a choice of the kind of life that I want to live. I can have a choice how I want to raise my children. I'm not just engaging in I'm not just a bundle of reactions. Okay. Does that help?
Yes. In terms of, that was very helpful. In terms of what someone, if they say like concentration meditation as like a type as opposed to like this type of meditation or that, just like naming things. With listening to sounds and just focusing on the sounds, or would that be considered a concentration meditation?
That's one of my favorites, the sounds.
Okay.
With the sounds, when you listen to the sounds, listen with your whole body. Listen with, in fact, if the breath isn't accessible, because sometimes, like for me at the beginning of my practice, the breath was, they would ask me, I remember somebody asked me, is the breath working for you? And I remember asking, well, what do you mean by working? Okay. It was just incomprehensible to me. It didn't make much sense. And so, listening to the sounds, if you keep the sounds at the top of your awareness and listen with your whole body, that can be a route in as well. The sounds have the same quality of the breath as the breath in that they are always present, they're always accessible, and they're always outside of any story that you're telling about yourself or your life. Right?
Yeah.
So, go ahead. You had a follow-up. Yeah.
Well, they're outside of any story, but they do, at least, they seem to be closer to stories than the breath is, in that it's easier to make up stories about sounds, I think, than it is to make up stories about breath, is at least my experience. Like, it's easier to...
That's a car?
Start, attaching, like, that's a car, or that's all this stuff, or, like, I can't believe this person really needs new muffler, he's going around yelling at it.
That person bought a loud
More
muffler
of
and
a,
he shouldn't have.
and you're being auditory, like, memory, so remembering things that happened, like, even just 10 seconds ago, you're still holding on to those. I think we're better at that than remembering our breath 10 seconds ago and getting caught up in that. I like sounds, but I think they're different sometimes.
And just notice how the mind does that.
Yeah. And it can be good just because you get to notice how your mind is reacting to that in a different way.
And two, another thing that's pretty cool about this is if you listen, when you listen to the sounds, you recognize that there are, I don't know how many dozens of layers of sound. In other words, you can listen to the birds, you can listen to the vibrations, right, on the earth, you can listen to just the basic atmospheric kind of white noise. You can tune into the traffic. You can tune into the sounds of inside of your body. So play with that, huh?
Yeah.